Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj. I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Careers as We Age. And today I'm going to introduce you to Jean Burnard. Jean is a friend who I met through something called Life Planning Network, which is a wonderful program for professionals who work with all different kinds of people over age 50. So we're going to find out today what Jean has been doing throughout his life, and I want to kind of alert you to the fact that I see Jean as being someone who's very adventuresome. So hello, Jean.
Good afternoon, Karma. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you for coming. So while we have this idea of your being adventuresome in mind, maybe we can show you on your new motorcycle on the screen.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
There you go. So this is not quite your newest baby, huh?
Not quite the newest baby, but this was part of an article that was done in the Globe a couple of years ago that the reporter came out and thought it was a neat thing to show me on the motorcycle.
On the motorcycle, and I did too, obviously. Okay, so I know we have talked about your life history, your career, and you've done a lot of really interesting things. So I guess everybody wants to ask you about your early life when you worked for NASA, right? So can you just tell us a little bit about what that was like for you?
Surely. One of the things I like to describe myself and live my life by is life experiences, and I've certainly had my share of good life experiences. Mm-hmm. You mentioned NASA. I was fortunate enough to work for a company called Link Aviation that had a contract to design and build the simulators to train the astronauts to fly to the moon and back. Mm-hmm. So I worked for a year in Binghamton, New York, where the home office was, and designing and building the simulators. It took much longer than that, but I got in on the latter part of the design. And then moved to Florida for 6 years, and there operated the simulators, or participated in the operation of the simulators, training the astronauts, worked in a building specifically for training, so I was in contact with the astronauts almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. So who were the astronauts at the time that you were there?
Well, just about all of them. I was there, got there right after the Grissom fire, but Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin.
So you majored in computer science, I guess?
Yes, I did.
So you were doing all the engineering, the technical stuff.
I was doing some of it. It was an extremely large project. Just to give you an idea, we had two different types of simulators. One was for the landing craft, the LEM, and the other one was for the command module, what often people refer to as the Apollo.
But so you made the comment to me, though, that somehow this was too slow for you.
Well, the engineering from the aerospace was pretty exciting, but looking down the road, I recognized that regular engineering can be challenging, can be fun, but my personality, I wanted to do things faster and have my hands in more things, and so I became involved more in first with the NASA and project management, and then my next job, which was the kind of the antithesis of the space program, it was oil exploration. I did marketing and sales for that.
So sometimes, Chris, you know that I'm a life coach and I've been a psychotherapist for many years, so I always get curious about what is there about your past, the way you grew up, that you think may just have promoted this way that you see yourself as being somebody who both is adventurous and wants to push the limits, push the envelope, so to speak, and try new things. But also, someone who maybe likes to see tangible results pretty easily. Is there some way that your history when you were growing up pertains to that?
The way I would describe it was, as a kid, I was always an inventor. My mind was, I was always inventing or thinking of new ways to do things. As far as career-wise and living, I'm a very curious person, so I need to know how things work and how business works, how technology works, and so I think the roots of it is back in the call it the inventor mindset as a child. I became interested in aviation as a young child, built models and taught model building at the Y and things like that. But it wasn't until I was mid-20s that I learned to fly and bought an airplane and learned to fly.
Okay, yeah, that's another piece. I'm glad you reminded me about that. So, do you still fly planes?
For the last, I'd say over 20 years now, most of my time has spent flying sailplanes, which is much more challenging to fly. No, I've always found fun in adventure, whether it be flying planes or skydiving. Actually, I started skydiving before I learned to fly, and competitive water skiing, and it was just recently that life was getting a little bit slow, so I went out and took the rider's course for the motorcycle and bought a motorcycle, and so that's my enjoyment today.
Your life was getting too boring, huh?
Slowing down. I wouldn't say boring, but slowing down. But then I wanted to do my own company, if you will, and looked around and decided to play in the online career site. And that was in the very early days of the internet somewhat, and certainly early days of the ability for companies to have their job postings on their website. So we provided a service, a subscription service that provided that, went on and did some other advanced stuff in that arena. Up to that point, it was pretty much business. I was doing my own thing, if you will, but it was still kind of business as usual. And I come across a company called, or website, they were introduced to me, called Senior Job Bank. And Senior Job Bank had been around since about 2000. This was in 2005. And it was a pretty cruddy looking site and didn't work very well. And so I made an offer to buy it. That was something I felt that I could get my teeth into, something that I could give back to the country, the society, connecting these job seekers with employers. So we redid the company, the website actually, and renamed it Workforce 50, and then started adding a lot of additional content to it. And we incorporated what we call expert authors, expert writers. And to the audience, Karma is one of our expert writers for us, and we thank you very much for your wonderful articles that you periodically
I write
publish.
some articles on meaning and purpose. So, but want to just tie some things up here, Jean, because we're going to have to stop, unfortunately. But I want to make sure that we know what we need to know about Workforce 50. So you're interested in engaging companies to recognize that people over age 50 have a great deal to offer their company. So what do they have to offer?
Well, the biggest thing that they have to offer is experience.
So we're going to have to stop. We're going to have to wind up.
Well,
so
thank you very much for the time here with you, Karma.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing about all this, and I hope that people will look at your website at Workforce 50.
That's Workforce50.com.
50, that's right. Okay.